next couple of years or longer at a certain price. Now, unlike futures,
Okay, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to GSA Lecture Series 2021 on this rather chilly evening here in Johannesburg. I'd like to welcome you all. A nice turnout here today, and really pleased to welcome two friends of mine, Ricardo Flores and Eva Prats, who are joining us from Barcelona this evening, and are going to entertain us with their beautiful, poetic, lyrical way of working. And I was fortunate enough when I was doing my PhD in Barcelona to have Eva in a cohort and to see and to get some insight into the way that the practice works and actually to visit some of their extraordinary projects. So to give you a little bit of background about their practice, it was established in 1998 in Barcelona after both Ricardo and Eva had been working in Enrique Miralles' office. Eva is from Barcelona and Ricardo is from Argentina. They formed the practice, and it's a practice that is committed to both design and the art of construction. And I think you'll see this evening the really extraordinary way in which they managed to meld a whole range of skills in producing the wonderful work that they produce. I'm not going to give you a lengthy introduction. I think we all have access to the internet and can find the bios to explore the details, and I'm sure you'd much rather listen to them than to me this evening. So I'm going to hand over to Eva and Ricardo and welcome them to the GSA, and welcome you all for joining us this evening. And yeah, we're looking forward to your lecture, Ricardo and Eva. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark, for the invitation. Yeah, we are very pleased to join you and to come to your school, Mark, since maybe it's already 1 year that we don't coincide in this. We already finished our PhD. That's a good thing, but not so nice is to keep following this semester every 6 months meetings in Barcelona. That was a very beautiful exchange, also for me to see the evolution of your PhD. So thank you for inviting us and this evening here to Johannesburg. It's summer now in Barcelona. It's kind of hot in our studio today. And okay, we will start the talk. I think Ricardo will start.
Yes, well, okay, yes, I will share the screen. We were saying to Mark before that we were perhaps interested in showing you one or two works only and see a bit more on how we work, rather than showing many different projects or the finished product, more the in-between, or how things evolve, and perhaps it's interesting later to open a conversation regarding this, the way of doing things or thinking forward. And so I'll share the screen now, and I'll show you have a PowerPoint. So I hope you are seeing our screen. Boitumelo and Mark, I hope if everything is okay. Yes, okay, great. So we wanted to start showing you a bit of our studio, our office in Barcelona. we work in an area in Barcelona which is in between the old town and the extension from 19th century. Is a moment of disconnection of the two growths of the city. It's a bourgeois apartment, in fact, that we occupied more than 20 years ago. It was a family house, an apartment that used to be for families that now are turning sometimes to studios or other occupations. And we've been occupying the place for all the projects, but also for we spend a lot of our day there. And that's and also then we started to put things, or you start to collect things around you, books and pictures, models, and things that start to sometimes remains of the projects, or things that remain there close to others, sometimes forming connections or families. And that also help you to think forward sometimes when you are drawing, because we spend many hours in the drawing boards, and then you look around and you remember things or friends or things that their presence from someone. So the order is very important in an office like ours, also because we have big drawings extended on the tables, and then all these tubes that you see up there are the collection of the drawings once the projects are completed. But the drawing board, the red drawing board that you see in front, also is there are a few of them in the office, and are from the project that are being drawn. At the same time, this house, which is from the 19th to 20th centuries, in the turn of the century, is a very beautiful old house, and has these cupboards that sometimes we occupy with different projects, and they collect them, the process of doing them, and so they contain all the time. There are projects like this one, which is in Mallorca, that took almost 18 to 20 years to be developed, from starting to continue, stop, and so on. So many times these processes are interesting to keep them all together in a place, so that you can open the cupboard and remember where you were when you stopped some time ago. And then when the projects are completed, we build these trunks, these containers with wheels that collect all the process of a project, all the models, then the different tests of the project to go on are collected. Sometimes they are chronologically, sometimes they are collected by families, by themes, by topics that were investigated. And so these trunks have wheels and can move along the corridors, as you see them now, parked in the corner, and so you can move them away. This flat is passing from street to court, from interior court here. Is very long, it's more than 13 meters long, and it has these beautiful materials that were very ordinary materials in the moment that were done. The pavements, the roses, the windows, the doors, they were materials that were done for many other houses in the city. But because of that, we like them very much, because they represent a moment of the growth of the town that is important, and is a very big growth when the city, old town, turned down the walls, the protecting walls. And so there's a lot of these materials, these tiles, and there are tiles that are in the corridor, in the rooms, in different rooms. Every room or every part of the corridor has a different pattern, and the patterns are very, very delicately drawn. See, they are tiled 20 by 20. You can see them. They are small, but they build up a bigger drawing. And you can see every room is different. They are like carpets in the middle of the room. So every time you enter a different room, you remember a different drawing. And also the doors are different, and the windows as well. The doors are different, even if it's the same house. Every room has a different way of closing. Sometimes you close a block below, but there's a glass above, or there is a double door, or this is kind of a door which is more important in the corridor that opens inside and out. Another one that opens more if you have a bigger furniture. They are very simple, as I said, but they contain the light along. You see when the light passes, and it's very it accompanies you very gently during the day. This room that I'm entering now is the former kitchen of the house. Now is our workshop for models, and we do models, very, very simple models. We don't use machines to do models. We use hands and cutters and rulers to make, because the models grow slowly, and we like to see them growing slowly and to see the different parts and test and change and come back. And so it's important that they are test models. They are fragmentary. So when you see all these shelves that you see now with all these fragments of different tests, is because when some parts of the project can be done and again. So you make the different options, and then you can compare. So there's an order also in the models, an order in the tools. The office has these containers, the cupboards, the tubes, the tools for working. Everything is allowing you to move on, to help you in the everyday work. So it's important the order where you can find the things, the drawings and the models again. So this project that is along in this table of the model workshop is what we wanted to talk to you today, which is a renovation of a former cooperative building, a workers' cooperative here in Barcelona, that was abandoned and was in a very bad state because it was closed. The building was closed, and it was remain void abandoned for 30 years. So it was in a very derelict condition. But it was a possibility to fit in there a group of theater, a drama center, people who make theater and who write theater, playwrights, and who teach theater as well. So there was a competition that we want to fit these people, which is called Sala Beckett, into this former workers cooperative that was in such a bad state. So these models come from the office tables to the tables of the Sala Beckett board, in this case, to explain the project once we won the competition, to explain all the board of playwrights and that conform the Sala Beckett, what was the project about. So see, the model is an element very important for communication, for taking out the work of the office with other interlocutors, for people from other disciplines that can share your interests or your doubts. So the model is an element for exchange, very important. This guy, which is in front of the figure of the photograph of Samuel Beckett, is called Tony Casares. Is the director of the Sala Beckett Drama Center, and he's the one who pushed the municipality to get the building and allow them to be there to organize the competition and to follow, and then afterwards follow with us all the process until the end. It was a very crucial person who led all this process from the beginning until the end, and still there, and it's very enjoyable to meet him. It's very, very interesting person to be with and to work with. So here you can see, if you can see my arrow, my cursor, this is the old town. This is where our office is, where I'm joining you now. We see it's in between the old town and the grid, what we call the grid. And this road that comes in diagonal like that is a former road that used to exit the city towards France, towards the north. Now it's a very beautiful road, a street called Peraquart, and this is where we are. All this area used to be a former industrial area until not so long ago. So the buildings that you could find there had very big dimensions, where belong to this culture of this kind of typology of very big industrial buildings for workers. And also the cooperative, which is in this corner, had a structure of an industrial building. You can see in this model of the actual state, as we found the building, you could see this span is 11 meters, and this is 25 meters. So the dimensions of the spaces were really huge. So it was like a warehouse, a passage, another warehouse. The structure was very much of an industrial, except for the decoration. It was a place for leisure, for meeting of the workers. But the dimensions of the place was very much of a workers' area. So this is the state how we found this cooperative building when we entered the competition, which is a few years ago. As I said, it was the roof was blown away, so it was water inside. The ground floor level was blocked because it had been squatters inside. So it was in a very, very bad condition.
Mm-hmm. But I'm going to show you how before this state, it had a very different aspect. So in the 1920s, when it was open, as you can see, there was a fronton. There was this main facade with the balcony, and on top there was this balustrade, and there was this triangle. The fronton indicated that in the center of the building you could enter through this big door where we have a man standing up there here, and you could enter straight to the first floor. That there was the leisure program. There we used to have a bar on the first floor and a theater, and instead the basement was completely used for a big grocery store. Let me show you the ground floor with the grocery store. Let me show you the model that we made. You see on the ground floor level, you can see in the center, there's a staircase coming up. And then on the right, we had the bar. And on the left, there was a theater. And as you can see in the section below, also and in the model, they were not, they had like an independent use. The grocery store was coming, you were coming to the grocery store directly from the street. And then if you want to go up into the leisure program, you take straight this staircase that goes to the first floor. The first floor had this bar with these pools. It was really great. These big rooms, the tiles that you can see in the picture, similar to the ones we have in the studio, more or less the same period of our studio, the time it was built. The grocery store had natural light, beautiful, big space. And but this was the pictures of the beginning of this building. When we found it, when we were visiting it during the competition, this space, this room, looked like this, completely not recognizable. So it had been blocked. There was a gym for a while that tried to make some business here. So they blocked the facade with mirrors. This is the old pillars also was covered. They put this fake wood on the floor. And also they start adding some mezzanine levels. So in smaller staircases and mezzanine levels, so this big space was kind of losing this quality, this generosity. They also organized a swimming pool that was in this stage. So there were no traces on the ground floor level of this previous past. But on the first floor, we could still find this atmosphere of the 20s. This is the back part of the building. There used to be a school, and walking around, we could get into the scenario, the stage of the old theater. As you can see, there was the rain was cutting in. You see the hole there, and then it was full of pigeons and rats. There were a lot of animals inside the building, but you can see this image was kind of impressive with this ray of light. It really looks like a performance could start at any moment. So even we were looking at a very decadent building, it had a very much like the optimism or the energy still to keep working again. Because the building was not listed, so it had been abandoned, it was falling down. With every summer, there are strong rains here, and it was not protected. So somehow, but it was very beloved by the people around of the neighborhood. So they were kind of afraid because they were seeing, even they couldn't enter into the building, they were seeing how the roof every summer got bigger holes. So some rooms were in a better condition. This is the old bar, but we really like everything we saw. We like the generosity of these spaces. And also later, we were so much familiar with the kind of tiles and doors that they have here. Also, there was a comment when we were visiting the building for the first time. The director was with us, was with the 5 teams that were competing. And I remember in this room, he commented about the value for them to have these stories written on the walls, even the decadence and the rain that has been inside of it. Because what Sala Beckett does is writing new stories and then put them on show for the first time. So in writing stories for them, he thought it would be a very kind of a good company to get into this building full of stories already. So right after winning the competition, we go straight, we spend like 3 months on the building, 2 people of our studio, drawing every door, every detail, but full detail. Also because as Ricardo was explaining you at the beginning, this kind of material is incredibly common in the city of Barcelona. So we still nowadays, we find a lot of these beautiful doors and tiles thrown in the street on a container when some of the apartments get renovated. People still don't appreciate it. And I think this is because they are so common that we draw a lot of all the windows and doors and full detail, and we have like 100 documents, A1 documents, one document per each element. So here you have different ones. Here we have like 6 of them together in this slide. And then after drawing them, we also make the models of them in 1 to 50. And each window had an was identified, like this is the window number 3. And it was like a collection for us, because at the beginning we didn't know. We knew that we want to keep everything, but we didn't know where they could stay. But we thought everything we have found inside the building will be left there, but we will move it around depending on the program and the new situations. So here we are working in a model. At this moment, the project was higher, was growing one floor up. At the end, because of budget reasons, didn't grow. But as you can see, little by little, we were finding a place for these old doors and windows, everything. And they had a lot of colors, and some this is the gentlemen's bathrooms and the ladies' bathroom. So we were also aware that there was a lot of colors in them, and the colors were also interesting. So I would like to show you a video that explains how much of these of these doors and windows have been recuperated. And so the 44 doors and 35 windows for the new Sala Beckett. This is a film we made in the studio. You see, this is the initial status and of the first floor and the project on the first floor. And then some windows will remain, and some doors will remain in the same location, only changing color. But then we start moving. These ones that come from the classroom will go into the classrooms, but in a different location. Even the big staircase, we will remove it. Very small ones for some little offices. Even smaller ones, it goes for the toilets. Very different sizes, even smaller windows flying roof and then landing into another spot. Once they were put on place, some of them change color depending on the color of the tiles that they found around. And as you can see now, this is the ground floor level of the project, and we still have some doors and windows on the first floor from the initial status that we can use, like these 2 very big doors that will relate the future bar with the vestibule.
Eva, are we still? Can you hear us? Eva, just have a look at your sound setting. We can't hear any sound right now. Maybe just pause the presentation and re-upload it. Maybe check your mic as well, because I can see you are muted.
Okay, let's see again. Okay, sorry, let's try to share the screen again.
Okay, we can see you. Everyone else, please make sure you have your videos off, your cameras off, and your mics off. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see now again if we can continue. Okay, then can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, the video was more or less finished, but could you see the video?
Yes, it just stopped mid, maybe close to the end of the video.
Okay, good.
I'm sure your mic went mute, yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so, well, there were colors not only on the windows, but also on the walls around us, even they were in a very ruined condition, but we draw them because we understood that in this project, it was very much about these traces on the walls and colors. So we started applying these colors on the model that was made with this gray cardboard. We started putting color in it. And also in the model, you can see the point of the project this rehabilitation of the building with this adaptive reuse in it. Probably it's where a lot of energy is made. We have a floor slab here, and there is light coming. It's a new floor slab, and you can see there's light coming through this hole. There are 2 holes here that you can see by the spot of light under. Okay, so this vestibule connects the 2 levels. At the beginning, as I show you, and we have the section of the previous state above. As you can see, this floor slab, there is not this visual connection between the ground floor and the first floor. But with the intervention, it deals a lot of how to connect, because the project, in this case, the program with the Salabecket people, it works all together. So ground floor and first floor are kind of linked. There is a theater upstairs and a theater downstairs, and people go to classes on the first floor, but from 10 in the morning when they open until around 11 at night, there are things happening in the building. So it's not just the theater that opens before the show. There are all day things going on. And as soon as you enter, this vestibule kind of indicates that it works in 2 levels. So this is the actual the as found state on the left, and what happened to this plant after drawing the program of it. And we have a bar on the ground floor level here in the corner. This is the main vestibule, and vestibule and bar kind of work together. It's great to have a building in a corner, because you become very, very public. So all these are very big windows, and also you have another entrance to the bar from this side. So the public will enter the theater or the school from here, from the central door, or from the bar. And there are different entrances here. What was interesting also of drawing a theater is that there are very public spaces open to everyone, and suddenly there are smaller ones, secret ones, that hide circulation and other actions also. So the people from Salabecket who works here usually can enter through this small door, and also actors. And the actors and actresses will go in through here. They have the dressing room, and from here they will arrive to the main room. And the main room has a lot of corridors around that the actors can appear from any direction. So in this model that grows, we can see the wall, one wall here that contains a seating, that it's closing here. And from this ground floor level, you will arrive to the main show, the main, theater space. Okay, there is a mezzanine level that we found a lot of mezzanine level. We broke some of it, but we leave some spaces for the administration and dressing room. We took it away because the bar, we kind of recover. We want to recover the big volumes. There is a club for the authors here. It's a very special place because from here, from the window, they can look who's in the bar. But also they can go kind of secretly and have a look from the cabin of the control cabin, what's going on the stage. So there is in the model you can see here. There's these 2 theaters working on this building. We have the one downstairs. This part is the old classes that keep working as classes nowadays, and we have 2 dressing rooms, one here and the other one above. So the one above is for the actors who will play in the theater above. That it's the old theater that we found being kind of restored, and the roof has been restored, but it doesn't. Before it was longer. Nowadays there is a buffer area in between the theater and the street that it's occupied by offices of Salabecket people. Okay. And I'll show you the first floor, how it works today. So you can see the old bar, now it's a rehearsal room in the corner, and the old theater was very long, now it's shorter, and here we have the offices. And this corridor in the middle, we have worked to make a connection of it until the classes area. In the old building that you can see on the left, the school, that it's a building that came like 20 years later, was built with the same dimension of these 2 warehouses in the front. But the connection among them was not interesting because this was a program of school and there was some doors of connection, but it was not so important to have it connected. Nowadays, the corridor in the middle, as you can see in the drawing, is a continuous path that you take from the facade until the bottom of the building.
Yeah, it's interesting what I was saying now, the different circulations, because here is all the public circulation in the center lobby, and then you have all the private circulation of actors and technicians in the back. So there's a lot of possibilities of connecting or disconnect, or walking, hiding from the public, depends on the moment. No, there's a little video that I want to show you now that explains about that. Let's see if this one works okay. So you have the actor who enters to the left, see, wherever I was saying, and then the white is the public. So when you enter, you don't see the actors. The actors go to the office, and then they go to the dressing room. So as a public, you go to pick up your tickets, and then you may wait in the bar for a friend, someone drinking a beer or a coffee, or you may sit in the sofa. In the meantime, the actor goes to the dressing room to rest and to rehearse and to concentrate. It's interesting, this wall in one side has the dressing rooms, in the other side has the sofas, with the public enjoying. You see two very different situations. Then the actor goes to the upper level because apparently they are going to perform in the upstairs theater tonight. So the public also goes to upstairs to wait, to make the queue. And then it enters to the room, to the upstairs theater. In the meantime, the actor also waits in the backstage. And then the third character appears, which is the technician. The technician goes straight to the cabin control. And then from there, he controls all the rooms. See, the different configurations of seats and audience changes all the time because the seats are movable. So depending on the play, they change position. And so when they finish, they don't hide anymore. They like to go into the vestibule. And then you might find the actors and or directors in the vestibule. So as a public, if you go out and you stay around, you might find the actor that has finished, and then you can speak a bit and tell him or her how much you like the play, and so on. So everyone ends being together in the balcony, looking to the street and smoking for a while. Okay. So this is the situation of the project. Now I want to show you a bit about the construction site, because the construction site is very violent. Of course, it's always very violent in a rehabilitation project, in adaptive reuse. So the first thing that happened in the project was to take out all the tiles, all the windows, the doors, everything that Eva showed you as an inventory that we have drawn to recuperate, was brought somewhere else to a storage place to keep it safe, while the building was being reinforced structurally and acoustically. So we had this moment where when you take everything away, all the doors, now all the tiles, fortunately we have drawn all the tiles as well. Every room, every drawing, every tile was inventorized and was packed in different pallets of different patterns in a storage to remember which were the ones, each one in which room, and where they will come back, where they will land. So in a certain moment, the building is almost nude, with all the naked. Then we start to reinforce with the structure, the floor slabs, also for fire, then for acoustics, all the building like that. And in the meantime, in the lower level, we were taking out the pool of the sauna that we found there, making room for the downstairs stage or theater. So we were lowering it a bit, the level, finding the earth, the original earth of this area, which used to be cultives a bit more than 100 years ago only. So we found this place. Then there was this portico. So before you see this wall that you see here, that was a wall of this later nave that Eva was mentioning before. This we had to take it out to make a wider room of 15 meters of width. So we had this big beam holding up the upper level wall to make this span with this portico structure that would allow us to have all these different configurations. Can you see that the room can be frontal, 2 sides, another 2 sides, or like a ring with 4 sides of public in the center, etc. For allowing that to happen, there's a certain width that you have to achieve. And so that, for that, working on that, it was a big help, the big models, and it was a bigger model than the one that you saw before moving on in the video. This is Tony and another playwright, Sergi Verdel. They will come to the office and work with us with these models and try to see together the different heights of the seats, the view of the public, of the actor, how much they would see, they did not see, the technicians, and so on. The model would also allow us to understand the structure, the porticos that you see now in the ceiling, with all the technical conditions, all the mechanical installations, all the lighting, etc. So it was a model that later on we could bring to the site. You can see the real thing in the back of the model, but we were signaling, pointing where we'd like to have the diffusers of the air conditioning, to where we wanted, and so on. So the model is for the competition, for the first assumptions, for the tests, for the evolution, for the technical, and also to go into the site. It's something that accompanies us all the process, all the way of the project. This is this new performance space, downstairs theater, which is a new room, a bit lower. Can you see in the model in the left, a bit lower from the street level? It's only 1.12 meters lower from the street level to have enough height, and to have the school, that former school of kids, now is a school of theater, to learn to write theater. So then you see this overlapping of the 2 rooms, the downstairs theater and the upstairs theater. They are overlapped. So it's a moment where, so the disconnection should be very, very strong. So before making all the floor, we had to make all these protections, acoustical protections. The upstairs theater is very special because it has the former walls and paintings of the former upstairs, the theater of the cooperative building, and also have natural light. Can have natural light. We left all these windows, this beautiful light coming from the stage, so people Sala Beckett can make theater during the day, having natural light, or in the evening. But and also have all these former walls, that all the remains of the former theater of the cooperative out there. But see how before the wood was positioned, you have the floor slab that was an acoustic floor slab separating from the downstairs level, then all the wooden structure, then the floor, and so on. The same happened in the former cafe, that now is a rehearsal room, as I was saying before. But all the windows to the street in the corner, and all the decoration is still there. The mechanical installation, in this case for the heating and cooling, is above the ceiling. So all these roses that you can see there, that used to be ventilation of the rooms of the former cafe of the cooperative, now are containing the ducts, the diffusers of the air and cool and heat for working. So they can, and so this room you can rehearse during the day with natural light, or put the blinds and use electric, artificial lighting, or they can open the windows. It's very pleasant that they can work the whole day with the possibilities of opening windows and that. So again, here you can see the situation of the tiles as we found it in the left, and as we moved it in the right, in the upstairs, in the upper level. See the 2 rooms in the right, the black ones are wood, painted black, as you saw in the pictures. Also in the school, in the former school of the kids, the 2 green rooms are also performance spaces for rehearsal and for practicing. So all these tiles that were remaining, that were not located here, where many of them were located or in the vestibule, in the central vestibule that you can see here, or downstairs, that, as Eva explained, was nothing left to recuperate. So the new bar and vestibule has all the tiles from the former theater, theater of the cooperative. Now they went down, and they are making all these curves and all this continuity between, the box office and the bar, and all the curves of the staircase. So they accompany you when you enter. So they are making all this new drawing that, of course, it was not like that before, because it was in orthogonal position. But now it's important that they follow, and they make you understand that you are walking on the same place when you're in the vestibule, in the dressing room, in the dressing part, in the bar, and so on. So all these drawings that we were doing for connecting the different levels, the ground floor that you see here, almost in the left, now the upper level in the right of the drawing, or more in the center, all this drawing is the drawing of is a big plan of a vestibule. So when we draw some elements, important pieces of the projects, we try to make them in big pieces of paper that could contain all the dimensions of this element. For example, in this case, the vestibule. So it's not only plan, but it's also facades in the size, also sections, details of the benches, everything that is involved in the vestibule is in the drawing. Because when you walk in the space, you not only look in the floor, but you look also in the handrails, in the ceilings, in the sections, everything together. So your eye moves from plan to section to elevation in a continuity. So it's important for us that the drawing contains it all. So when you draw it all in continuity in plan, section, facade, elevation, ceiling, and so on, all in a one hand continuous drawing, then the space contains that kind of fluidity. And when you move around, you can feel that kind of articulation. So here are the doors and windows also waiting for being relocated. Fortunately, we have good carpenters in the construction site that were adapting, enlarging, extending, cutting out fragments of the doors for the new location. Some of them, like the pink one, the pink color here, are the existing situation, and the gray around is the adapting to the new situation. Sometimes you would bring huge windows, but when they landed here, they were still too small, so you make the rest in continuity to extend it. So the upper window that you see there is almost 2 meters high, but still in this vestibule, which is very, very high, we needed kind of to embrace it with more. So all this kind of adapting the old to the new and making an extension so that you could not really see, it's difficult to see what's new and what is old. It was an intention of melting the different times of the project in one continuous time.
Because in the construction, there was a moment that it was a moment for the doors and windows to come back to the building. This moment, everything is full of dust, but the windows arrive. And also we have saved some of the decoration of the old theater, the ceiling that was falling down. We could save some of this stuff. One of these rosettes you have been using for the poster, not the one below. And we could use them as also for decoration, but in this case it's on the wall. It's vertical decoration, but here we have the skylight, so we know that we will have natural light and the shadows will kind of cast in this decoration. Okay, so all these things around us, and I remember that the builder was asking us about how do I paint all this, and we were looking around and thinking, okay, there is so much information in these walls that if we decide to paint in one color the new parts that we have built, it will be too much of a contrast. So discussing, we came up with the decision that we will paint also by fragments. In this image, this volume that you see on the right, that pops up out of the wall. It's a cabin to stop sound to enter into the theater upstairs. And we leave the plaster as it is with these different tones, and we paint some kind of socle. But as you can see, it's painted completely like in fragments. And the same wall on the ground floor level is the red wall that has the sofa, and also is painted fragmented. So when you enter this building, the information that you receive is kind of constant into it. So there are new parts. The new parts are kind of painted in different colors. So it's a kind of continuity, yes, in your mind. And then we decided on how to decide where to apply or not color. And we were taking pictures of the construction as it was. And then we were on with transparent paper. We were first making the colors that already were on the side, looking for clues of how to keep on painting. But we made it like scene to scene. So with this picture, we decided about this vestibule. So it was also very fragmentary. So this door becomes red, and here we are in the bar. The pillars become green because we have some tiles, green tiles that have been left. This door will become also will become green. The old theater had green and brown, and we were distributing with these first clues and deciding what about the new wall, that this curved wall is new, but we painted the same. So this was the method that we use to to decide about these colors. And when this drawing was finished, we will hang it on the wall of the construction site, and then the painter was going there to check which kind of numbers. You can see there are the numbers of the codes of the different colors. And for instance, this is interesting. All these walls are new. It's a dressing room downstairs. The tiles are coming from above, from upstairs. We reuse them, and then we choose these different colors depending on the tiles. But also here we change the color depending on the wall to make a variation. And in the bars, you can see there is a lot of green, and also the big doors that came from above, where it says Secretaria, and this one is painted green in this side and keeps the brown on the other. So all these different tiles of the grocery store can, yes, that are here give us clues for the color, and then we left this accumulation of time on the walls. As you can see, there are big windows, very big windows. One is green next to the green tiles, the other ones are white. So at the end, we had the sections of the building, and what we did in these sections that were just online in black and white, we keep adding this information on the colors. So we archive, so that when they have to repaint, they have these documents in Salabecket, and they can check which color they have to apply. In the central space, as I told you before, is the vestibule, and is where the intensity of the building is very much concentrated here. On the picture on the right, you can see you step inside the building, and in 2 steps, you can see upstairs there's something going on. So the building works together for the ground floor and first floor. And we have a light coming in. You can see on the left, there is some light falling from above. And we have a lot of machines here. We wanted to have a skylight in the middle of the building and bring energy to its center. And the engineer was asking bigger and bigger machines each time. At the end, we had to take the light from one side. At the beginning, this skylight was direct. In this case, it kind of became more interesting because of the engineer, and we make it come from one side. So here you cannot see the hole where the light is coming, but you just see the effect of the light coming down. It's here. We have the rosettes of decoration, and this is a drawing we made at the end of the work. So because it was a very intuitive decision, and then when we discovered it, we decided to make a drawing on this wall, because all the decoration, all the circulation and the light is kind of dedicated to it. The entrance door, the staircase is here, the skylight that comes here, and you trespass this wall several times. You can see it also here in the model. It's this very thin, 15 centimeters high, and it has the lights, the circulation around it. As you can see here, it's this very thin wall that we trespass it here, and we have these 2 sides. It's very theatrical, how you appear very quickly into the vestibule, and you will cross the wall again here on the left to get into the classes at the bottom there. Okay, so, and you have these very long views and cross views. So it was interesting also to see how, when we kind of open it again to let the light trespass through it, was more actions kind of against it, but also to make it participate. So these are the drawings to make the hole. At the beginning, the hole for this wall was circular, and it had to be just half a circle, more or less half a circle, because we have a structural truss, wooden truss here. We have to be careful. So we opened these kind of half, it's a quarter of a sphere. So we broke the floor slab. We make the hole here, and the light is getting in. So we asked to make this kind of half a circle here. We're breaking it. It was not, when we were giving this instruction, it was not clear at all for the workers what they were doing, because from one side they were building this quarter of a sphere, and then they were breaking this to get light through, but at the other side there was still a wall. Some days later, we had the light, the natural light getting through the wall again, and the floor slab has been broken, and we could see how this quarter of a sphere was being filled in with the natural light. So this point, that is kind of it's the central point. It has full of intensity. Somehow it keeps a lot of the chapters of the story of this building together, because we have the new openings, the new distribution of Salabecket that has happened, and it's left here with this opening of the skylight. But you can see also the old decoration, the signals of decadence in the wall, because the rain was in here. So for us, it reminded us somehow what we saw when visiting the building at the first time, that we had this ray of light right there, kind of waiting, bringing energy to the building, but the building needed some care. So there was this connection among the two of us. So among these two moments, and then we were invited to the Venice Biennale to participate, and the curators, Grafton architect, so they were talking about free space and what the architect brings to the building besides the program, like something like working with the skylight. And no one's usually talked about this in the program, and we thought about bringing this skylight into Venice. So making a mock-up, also because Grafton architects were talking about having an exhibition that was experiential. It's not of objects. So we thought, okay, let's build it in 1-to-1, so that we will have this 18-20 meters long and the 6 meters high that it has in Sala Beckett, and then we will need a source of natural light to make it work. So this was our proposal, and they accepted. And then we knew that we were going to be in this arsenal, in this building that they used to make the ropes for the boats. And in the picture, the camera doesn't tell, it seems a symmetrical building, but in fact, on the right hand, we have south. So we have, well, we are in the north hemisphere here. So south is where the sun comes, and the north is the regular light. It works opposite than you. But we found in this old engraver, it shows that the light is coming from engraving, sorry. We see that the light is coming from one side and the other is more shadow. So we needed these windows on the south side, and that we could get the sun coming in, and we will make the skylight work, and as we have been drawing here. So you can see there are the three windows of the Arsenale, and we will kind of funnel the light, control the light, and make, as you can see here in the back, this is a funnel, and then all the light will appear at the other side of the scenography. We call one, it was the scenography for us, and the other one, the backstage. We were controlling the light with a model in the studio, and knowing that it controlled. You see what an intensity of light we get here. And this is the backstage of it, and the columns that you can see are the columns of this old building. If we compare the skylight on the left of Sala Beckett, and we can see that the light is more vertical. So when it works as a shower, it has more strength. In Venice, we had to deal with horizontal light, more horizontal. So it won't be that strong. That's why we were using also two windows concentrated in one. These are more pictures of the model of the display. The skylight is the space in Sala Beckett is 6 meters, and it fits very, very tight into the building. We like it somehow, that this piece was going to be that tall and was almost touching the columns, this kind of collision with the building. We have to build everything in Barcelona, controlling it from here, and also testing it here, send pictures to Venice, they accept it, and everything will travel there. And there in Venice, we only had to screw. This is the back side of the model with the funnel, and this is the funnel part in the carpenter. So you see, in this part of the backstage, we have this table and two shelves, very, very long, also this 18 meters, that we decided to fill them up with all the process material that you get in the office when the building is built. But in the office, it's everywhere. There are models, documents. So we were collecting everything from the rooms and bringing everything to the biggest room that we have in the studio, trying to make some order. After a few days, it was packed. It was kind of, we couldn't step on the floor. So we asked the help of a carpenter that built up this table, the same size as the one on the exhibition, plus the two shelves. And we could reorganize again all the models and everything. Okay, the room was filled. As you can see, there is the door. We had to go under the table to get into this room. And yeah, from here you could sit, and you were quiet in a way when you were drawing and finishing. Also because our room was not as high as the final exhibition, so there were some pieces that we were controlling with the model. We have to make sure that everything that we will bring to Venice will fill in all the area that we had to predict. So here we had the 18 meters on the right, and on the left, we had all the surface, all the area that we have to fill in with objects. So this was happening in this room, and then the rest of the office also was very busy organizing the Biennale models for the Biennale. A friend of ours, an industrial designer, built these legs for the models and some benches, and everything was in the corridor everywhere. Some people were painting these kind of containers to be ready for Venice and to show what's inside. We were traveling also with some of these containers that it's very kind of convenient for an exhibition, because as soon as you open them, things appear very well organized. And here we had, this is the first project we did with Stella Beckett when there was more budget and the building was growing up. And you can see there are two possibilities of a hat for the building. Now we are taking the hat with Ricardo. And so you can see the existing building is still up there, and there's two hats that we were proposing for this model. So with these containers, you can see you can move around and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. So we travel, these boxes travel to Venice, to this arsenal. Everything has arrived here. We have to start displaying it.
Yes, so a few days later we arrived to Venice. Everything was waiting us there. So we were very fast in going, very at the beginning of the possible montage. So we display everything, we occupy everything around, because our neighbors were not there yet. So we were lucky because we had to build up all these elements, as you saw in the carpenter's workshop. And it was quite big. So, and at the beginning, the first layout, the first wall was crucial to lay it out very well, because as you remember, Eva was saying, is located against these two windows to the left. They had to funnel the light of these two windows. So it had to be very, very precisely drawn in the floor and built up. In the other side of these two windows, it was these very beautiful situations in Venice that you find these canals with water that reflect the light, and it's very silent and very, very beautiful condition out there. This is the Arsenale, the long corderie where they used to do the corderie, the ropes for the boats, as Eva was saying. This part where we are here, we are in the first part that has light of all the corderie. If you see the drawing, the corderie starts here and it goes all these 300 meters long for make ropes. But this first part is blind, you don't have light here. So the first part of the light is here where we were located, because we told Grafton that we needed natural light. So you had these first meters and then you find the installation. It was very, very beautiful to be there. And at the same time, we had another commission in the same moment for the same Biennale. Francesco Dalco, the architect, and director of Casabella, was the curator that year for the new appearance of the Vatican country in the Biennale. They wanted to be there as part of the Biennale, so they asked him to be a curator of the pavilion for the Vatican country. So he proposed to build some little chapels in a forest. In a forest that he knew how to get access to, which was here behind the San Giorgio Maggiore chapel from Andrea Palladio. So we had in the Vaporetto number 2, you had to cross from San Marco to San Giorgio, and then here behind the beautiful church of Palladio and the cloister, you had this beautiful hidden garden. So he committed 10 different offices from different countries to build a little chapel, remembering, of course, the wooden chapel from Asplund that have been built exactly 100 years before. So these different offices were from different places in the world, from South America, North America, Europe, Asia. And it was interesting because even if it was for the Vatican country, you could choose not to respond with symbols, or you were free to accept the commission to do this chapel and to interpret as you wanted. So what we did is to ask Francesco Dalco if we could choose the place to locate our chapel, and he accepted. So we located our chapel in this road that is the longest road when you come out from the cloister, the longest path, right before you arrive to the water. So it's right there. And it's a chapel that is a connection, let's say, between this path and the forest, which is a very beautiful forest of pine trees, very old pine trees. In this island, in theory, or there's written that there was a a monastery in the year 1000. And there's no remains of that. But we thought that this chapel, this fragment of chapel, could be a fragment of the former monastery, of a former, church or temple that was there. So we thought all the time that this could be a fragment of a forgotten chapel, that was a remains of a ruin of a former temple that was there. And so there was a door, is this door that welcomes you into the forest, that could be like, the natural temple. So once you cross the door, you find this excavated chapel in the width of the wall. So the wall contains the chapel. It also contains an oculus and a hole that keeps the light in the beginning. That's what is called, we call it morning chapel. It gets the first ray of light in the morning that comes into the forest, crosses the chapel and gets in. So it's like a lateral chapel of a temple, of a church that you might find there. Is in the border, is a door to the forest. Here, what Eva is drawing is the connection between the sun, the chapel with the oculus, and the trees and the pine trees that are there. And we have this painting, very beautiful old drawing from Ivan Leonidov, that we interpret. It was a pavilion in a park that he drawn. We changed this pavilion for our chapel because we wanted to we thought that it was like that, that we could find it, a little chapel in the middle of a forest that you suddenly find. But this chapel, besides saying it's a ruin, is done for 6 months. So it's all done by plaster. In plaster is a fake thing, because it was only for the Biennale, even if later on it stayed there and still there. But in the moment of building, it was supposed to be for 6 months. So it's all kind of plasterboard with a metal structure. And you had this very flat condition, very beautiful also when it was built up, trying to build this condition of being a solid thing out of plasterboard. So this is the structure is very simple. It's a wall that becomes thicker, and then in this thickness you have the door and the chapel in there. At the same time, on the other side of the island, we were building this fragment of for the free space exhibition, the liquid light, what we call, as Eva was explaining before, this big installation, this big scenography, this little bit of Sala Beckett into Venice from Barcelona. And you had the backstage already there, the 2 windows to the right. Now the doors came, the shelves there, the connections to the wall, everything was there. So suddenly the door is there, the hole in the plasterboard where the light would come through. This becomes solid. The door is waiting for you, and at the same time, the door is already there in the chapel. So now everything is solid. Nobody thinks that it is empty inside. It's like a fragment of a piece of construction there. And it's very interesting because later, when we were doing the situation plan, we much later understood that we were doing the same movement in 2 times. Because here in the upper part of the drawing, you find yourself walking in the island in this path. And once you walk, suddenly you find this inclined wall, and then you cross through, and then you find hidden this chapel. The same thing happens in Le Cordelier. When you enter, you walk some 100 meters or so, and suddenly there's this wall incline again, another door waiting for you, and behind you find all the backstage, all this unexpected thing that you wouldn't expect, you wouldn't imagine from the front. So we were doing 2 times the same movement. The natural condition of the place was very present. The water and the pines and the light reflected on the water of the lagoon was constantly, it was very present there, constantly with us. So it's very blunt and very, mute from this side. But once you cross, you find this other space that is open to the forest, as I said. So it's not dedicated to Catholic Church. There's no symbols there, but all the promenade, all the ritual is there. You have the door, you enter, then you find a little altar a bit up. So you see the steps, you walk up, and then you see a little place with some drawings. So you see the drawings, you get close to them, and then suddenly in the drawings you understand what's all about. You see the sun in the drawing, and then you see the forest surrounding the church, and then suddenly you realize that there's someone or something looking at you from above, and you raise your eyes, and then you see this element, which in a way clarifies a bit more what's all about. So all this ritual of the chapel is there, even if it's not dedicated to any specific religions, because we thought it was good to open it up to anyone who'd come to the Biennale from any country, any cult or belief. So it's something that is open, is not protective. If it's open to the elements, if you want, if it rains, you can get wet. You feel the wind. Is projected to the nature. You can see the sun coming everywhere. So it's a shelter, but it's a little bit sheltering you because it's quite open. So this condition of unprotection, of a ruin in a way, of something that is left there, and you find yourself almost exposed, has the same character as the Sala Beckett in the other side. So you have also this fragment of ruin that you don't know is activated by the light of Venice, but you don't know that if the time is moving forward or backward, if you are recuperating or things are getting even more destroyed, more like a ruin. See, the photograph of Sala Beckett matches very well with the Corderie walls that were also in the same state as the Barcelona building. So you would enter, you see there all these models on legs walking to welcome you, and then once you raise the sight to the window, there is this little model that we did to explain this fragment. Where does it come from? This fragment that you were visiting, that is in the first floor of a building far away in Barcelona, and then you would walk. Then you find this lighted space. You walk through, and then suddenly you see all this backstage with all the story of the project, of 6 years of project in these 15 meters of length. So you see the cooperative, the workers' cooperative, then the competition, then all the documents of the construction, the drawings of the color, everything that we were talking to you before were there. All the doors were there. Nobody failed to be there. Everything was there. And then all the drawings of the process, you could spend more or less time looking at them in this space. And then you had also this letter in the corner, which story, you see them, the mock-ups, all the patterns were there. All this lettering situation was very interesting in the moment of building Sala Beckett, because it was there was a moment at the end that we had that the director was drafting of the dimensions of all the text, all the signals. So we built a one-to-one in the office, see the sizes of the pieces in the office. Then we painted black. We brought it to the sala, and then the builder helped us to put it there in cardboard, and then they were convinced, and then we could move on with all the lettering. The lettering is backlight, and so it turns white in the night and is black during the day. And all this ground floor, you can see now all the restaurant, the bar that Eva was saying before, very connected to the street. And the last thing I would show you is the first performance they did when they opened. One of these theater playwrights of Sala Beckett asked his students to collect stories and memories of the neighbors who still live around and remember things of the cooperative, to write, to tell them little stories that they could write, little fictions about these stories, about these memories. So these memories were transformed in little fictions, in a micro theater, little plays that during 2 days only, they were performed all around the building, in different spots of the building, in 15 little spots of the building. So the actors with the audience were moving around, and they were representing different actions that were remembering the past of the place. So this drawing that we drew long ago, much before the building was finished, that was explaining about all this movement in the vestibule, the bar, and so on, was again was now being activated, because the bar was full of theater, the vestibule was theater, the dressing room was full of theater, the upstairs courtyard, the performance, the rehearsal rooms, everything was filled with theater, not only the theater spaces, but all around. People were dancing. There was a lot of crying, of course, because people was remembering, and there was a lot of connection of what they could see, or with what they were remembering. But it was very beautiful these 2 days, and the bar upstairs was also recuperated. And here is Tony explaining to the neighbor what were they going to see next in one of the rooms with the help of the models and all that. So it was a very interesting for us in that moment to understand that we were all making a community, not only between people of the theater, but also a community in time with different generations that have passed on this place before. So it was that moment where speaker says, attention, attention, the show is going to start.
Un escenari de cartró que va quedar dipositat davant teu damunt les façanes. Tenia el taüt caigut i et van invitar que tu mateix l'aixequessis. I així vas descobrir, tal com nosaltres descobrim ara, tot un univers de rompiments i talons pintats, el mar i el cel, un paisatge infinit dins d'una capsa. Quantitat de personatges habitaven aquell àmbit, hieràtics, però movibles gràcies a unes tiges de cartró cors. Per primera vegada. Un moment abans de decidir-te, un moment abans de donar l'ordre, contemplaves l'escenari com ho tornes a fer ara i resolies que tot aquell bullit incipient de formes, figures i colors podia ser la cosa més bonica del món. I és així com et vas perdre, perquè t'havies ficat massa dins. I quan el teló es va tancar, com ho fa ara, es va tancar darrere teu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see if you can see us.
Camera.
Okay.
Okay.
You are muted, I think. Mark, you are muted.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. What a beautiful way to spend a Thursday evening. That was really wonderful. A lovely journey through the project, and I'm so happy that you talked about the process of your work, you know, and talked about how you worked and drawing and modeling and the continuous process of making. Thank you so much. That was really enchanting, and you know, for me, very special because I'm familiar with that place and how it's working. I'm sure that we have some reflections and some questions that people might have. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do, if they have a thought or a question, perhaps you can post it in the comments, and then we can talk. So Kate Otten, who's one of the eminent South African architects, she says, wow, 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 such incredible, inspiring, crafted, bravo. So not a question, but a exclamation of pleasure and delight with your work.
Exquisite. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
And yes, we maybe you have to start, Mark, because people is a bit shy at the beginning.
Yes, no, of course,
Yeah.
of course. I actually have a question for you. I know that you are working on some additional work with the Salabek.
Yeah, it's true. At this precise moment.
Continuing to work on it. Yeah, so, and I'm just curious about how is that to revisit a project, you know, after it's complete and then to come back to it. Does it feel continuous to the story that you've been working on, or do you look differently at it? How is that as an experience?
Well, in this case, we haven't abandoned the building yet, I think. It's a very special case. Also, we usually go back. We go back to the buildings also because we really think that you make always you test things in the building, so you really want to know how it works afterwards. So we visit them. But in the case of Sala Beckett, it's like we're having in continuous relationship with the theater director, and we have a very good relationship with him. And even he said, don't leave us, because he knew that the building will need some adaptations with time, also because they have a little money each year to improve things or to put extra things. And we have been working with them in a small interventions during these years. And this summer they have some extra money and they can finally have some new seats in the courtyard upstairs, and they are full of colors. This is going to be something new that will be ready for July. But they have an international theater workshop. So it will be nice because there are maybe, I don't know, there are around 50 people in the building making different courses and lectures. So it will be a great spot for them to meet in the open air.
Well, next week will be finished. In fact, we are almost there. But it's very difficult, Mark, to answer your question. It's very difficult, at least for me, to return to do something in that building, because we liked all the experience very much, and it was a very amazing process altogether. So every time we have to touch something, really, I don't sleep for months before, and then I had nightmares and all these kind of things. But yeah, fortunately, we have very good collaborators here who help, and then the builder is someone we know and is doing it very carefully, so everything is coming fine. But I'm extremely nervous to touch this house.
Yeah, because the building, you have seen it. It's kind of has a fragile balance that you're afraid of touching it too much, or because that has been all over during the construction. You have seen the pictures of the construction. At the beginning of the construction, the building almost disappeared, because without doors, without window, it was amazing. So every time it has this point that you don't want to erase too much of the previous occupancy, because all the theater people, they say that the building has ghosts, and they love it. So it's always like a place that it looks kind of fragile. And so Ricardo really has a hard time.
You never know if you're touching it well or not. It was so difficult then that you don't want to pass for the same struggle again. So you better not touch it. But they ask you do something. So what are you going to do? So it better that they ask to us. So you have to respond, but you don't want. So
that's another question that I wanted to ask you, when I was visiting Barcelona, I stayed very near to the Sala Beckett, so I would visit it, and I would often have coffee in the restaurant and so on. But what was really interesting for me was that it looks like a beautiful contemporary space, that is adaptively reused in a very beautiful way. But it struck me that a lot of people who lived in the area used the building.
Nice.
It didn't have this feeling that it was only for people who are interested in drama or acting, community, And like in London or other cities, or in New York, other cities that I'm familiar with, projects like this become part of a project of gentrification. And the people that then come to the building are often not the people from that area. But I've seen in Sala Beckett that it was as if it was reclaimed by the people that live there, that they've received the building. Is this your experience? Is this how?
Yes, absolutely. What happens is that there is one thing that Tony Casares, the director, which I showed you before, had very clear in mind, that he wanted a place not for an elite, a cultural elite or something. He wanted a building for everyone.
For theater people.
Only for theater people. But he wanted something that was open to the neighborhood, and that's why we wanted. Also, we work with him with his bar and restaurant connected to the streets around. That was very important. That was crucial, because the building becomes a place where you can come in, as you did, to take a coffee or something without even being interested in theater, maybe. But you're interested in the omelette that they make there, which is fantastic. So it's something very popular, and no, yeah, it doesn't have this kind of pretentious air of a place for the culture or something like that. So it's full of neighbors all the time. The other day when we were going to see these benches last week, yeah, when I went out from the construction site and I was in the bar, it was almost, in the afternoon, not much people, but there was these two couples working, playing together, playing Scrabble together.
Lovely.
Near the window. I thought,
yeah.
that's fantastic. I mean, how lucky they are, I thought, because to spend the afternoon, there playing Scrabble with friends, with the glasses there, they were very, very into that. And I really enjoyed that the neighbors, took over the building back, and that was the whole story.
It's nice because it's their building also, and
yes.
because Tony knows that has also not people on the neighbor, so it has been not accepted. It has been like recovered by them, and then it's very nice. Yeah.
There's some questions coming in, so I'm going to read the questions out so everybody can hear them if they can't see it. This is from Parik Apurva. And he says, this is Apurva, architect from Mumbai. He says, thank you for sharing your work. It's truly inspirational. I was wondering while at the Venice Biennale, how you and the studio hold your ground with this process of working by hand with all of your projects in the face of changing technology and the growing obsession and dependency architects have with the virtual workspace. I'm asking this only because we notice even in schools of architecture, the debate between the digital and analog, especially in this digital working mode during the pandemic. So he wants to talk, he's asking you about this relationship of analog and digital. How was it at the Venice Biennale working in this analog way in a world that's very digital? Maybe you can speak a little bit about this experience.
Yes, well, the Venice Biennale somehow were kind of a small projects, the one for the Arsenale and the little chapel. And in fact, the chapel has all the drawings by hand. It's defined by hand. And in the other one of the skylight, we made some drawings in AutoCAD for the carpenter. But it was mainly also, it's like maybe 4 drawings that define each project. So it's kind of easy. And it's kind of quicker sometimes by hand. And then this thing, we use it. I think we like to have the different tools and then choose which tool you prefer to work with. For us, sometimes it's in small projects or at some moments of the project, we keep drawing by hand because we enjoy it, because we draw ourselves. We have a studio that is kind of control of size because we keep drawing, and we want to dedicate kind of a small amount of projects per time so that we can really test and research with every project. And then for this, you need time for the research. And then the tool, we choose it independently. So our documentation combines hand drawings with computer drawings. And then we test a lot with models. We trust a lot in models. And then we are teaching also. And during the pandemics, we were in Zurich working with ETH. And we ask the students to draw by hand. We are not the only teachers who also ask to draw by hand. We invite them to draw by hand also because we start by observing the city and measuring the city. So drawing helps everyone to observe and then to observe. And then later also we make some exercise with historic maps. So there are a lot of exercises that are good doing it by observing and using the drawing to observe. But later to articulate the kind of complex reality of observation plus neighbors' comments, we think we invite them to keep drawing by hand. And I think a lot of them, they really like it because it's more about drawing without measuring with proportions. And when you start the proposal, it's easier. So I think it's nice that they get into this world. We know that it's not so common in the schools today, but we see the advantages of it. So we like to share it with the students and they can know what's better. And then, of course, everything gets scanned or photographed and placed online. We were using concept board. We made a beautiful studio in the concept board, a drawing of the studio with tables, and everyone was there sharing. It worked well, also because I think the hand drawings are very good for communication because you have select the drawings. You select the drawing. You never have a file of AutoCAD full of things that you don't know what they are. everything that you draw, everything is kind of, you have the ownership of this line. You know that it's the pavement, it's the door.
Memory. It's your memory. Yeah.
Yes, so we think
Yes.
it works very well, and in the screen it was beautiful to see all these drawings also during the pandemic,
Yes.
the online mode. So it worked very well, this combination.
Lovely. And a couple of questions from Sarah de Villiers, who's one of our unit leaders here at the GSA. She has two questions. I'll ask you the first, and then when you've responded, I can ask you the second. And she says, thank you very much for sharing such inspiring and careful work. Could you talk a little bit about your experience working in Enrique Miralles' office and how this translated into your own practice, and how and what diverged or became new in your own workings? And we have another question that relates to that, which is from Chi Jigang, a Chinese name, forgive my pronunciation, which is very similar, where she asks about the relation, or he or she asks about the relationship to the studio of Enrique Miralles. So perhaps you could talk a little bit about the genealogy of your practice in this way.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, we both were there more 25 years ago, so it was quite a long time. We spent many years with Enrique in a very good moment, because we were our formation years. We were 20-something. And it was a moment important for us after the school. Well, Eva was working while she was at school as well, and when she was as a student, and later on.
It was a long time. It was almost 9 years. So it was a parallel to my studies. Beautiful. Yeah.
And I arrived to Barcelona when I was already graduate, and I stayed there 5 years. And it was a very intense, but yet very, very joyful place. And in fact, the architecture, the way of doing things there were intense, trying to follow Miralles' inventive and capacity of creative capacity in a way. You were following the rhythm of projects and drawings and the day-to-day. It was very intense and very beautiful. It was hand drawing, and we were really spending as much time as we could. And this is something that I really enjoy very much also in Argentina, is this understanding of being in the office, like enjoying a culture of doing the work together and producing the material, and whatever the material you need and you think, and whatever the time you need to do it. So it's something that goes beyond an office. I would say it was more a studio, a place where you really share with others interest and time and thinking and doubts and drawings and learning together. And Enrique was one of us, was of course far beyond with his head, with his intelligence, but was one of us in between. He liked very much to be among us, drawing with us the more he could because of the trips. And then we were, going ahead with him weekends, all the time we could. I was super intense. So when we left that place, in a way, we could say that we like to think that we inherited more this kind of playful or joy of the everyday with our work. We are not so interested in of course in his geometry, because this is something much more personal, and we think that later, so as time passes, you start to detach from that. You start to draw your own interest, your own geometry, your own way of drawing and thinking the things. But what we like to keep, the more we can, is the way of facing the problems in the everyday, trying to put all what we can around us to enjoy and help us, drawings, books, paintings, models, everything around us, to create this culture for us and for everyone who work with us, to see that the project is part of a bigger culture of a lot of things that surround and influences. And that is something that we can say that we inherit. So we inherit in a way his library, if you want. His authors of reference are our reference as well, and the way of following some guides are in a way we follow that as well intuitively. So that when you learn from someone like that, I think the most interesting thing is when you have your own practice, is try to remember how a figure like this one was facing the crisis, the tension, the difficulties, the failures, the clients, the competitions, the trips, the classes, everything. So how he would face all these things in the everyday. Then when you have your own practice, you remember that. How he would go into that. Would he let him down? No, he would go on. No, would he give up? No, he would go on. So you go on, you go farther and more and try, etc. So the level of exigence is what you inherit. This is what I can say.
Yeah, and I think also that has to do with this kind of keeping or finding research in every project and let the project kind of be open and adding things to it. I think it's also something that happened in this studio, in my studio, that there was not this urgency or emergency for a solution. You were immersed there, and you know that you were going to draw things and things could change also, and get information and then accept this complexity, but also this and also playful process that each project opens, because it's he was really taking this kind of privilege of architects that every program comes with a client, a site. This is so kind of magic or so special of our work, and I mean to take it and to give time to develop it and see what happens. But trust in the process. If you put the good ingredients, you think things will be cooked properly at the end.
Yes.
So there was something of this. No, you didn't. Where do we go? No, we don't know. But let's keep adding every information that it's important, and let's keep working.
Lovely. That's a lovely response to that question. And the second question from Sarah is, she asks, can you describe what happens in the process of working ideas out in physical or one-to-one scale models that is different to those worked out in the drawing? So she's talking about what is the difference in process of making a model to making a drawing? How do you approach or navigate these two different ways of working?
Well, there is a difference, important difference for us from the models to the drawings. We move on our thoughts or our ideas or the project through drawing only, and the models are a test only. They are not decision. They are not design tools. You can decide things and where to continue working with a model. You can test the thing with the model, see how the space works or does not work. But we continue the evolution of the project drawing again, so that you have a model of a specific moment in time in the project. Then you check that, and then you think, maybe these could be improved. This space isn't working well. This articulation, all this proportion, etc. So you come back, and we like to draw two dimensions so with transparent paper with volume on one on top of the next, on the previous one, and then again and on top, like retracing over your own ideas, like modifying your own ideas with the paper, with the transparent paper, which allows you to see a bit of what is under, but there are some new things on top. So there's this kind of connection between what you see and what is new and what you remember. And this is in two dimensions. So you see that you have the plan, and then you have another plan on top and another plan. So you are understanding the section while you drew the several plans. So is you have the 3D in your head with the two-dimensional drawings, and that's very important because it makes you try to catch the space with your head and try to make it an interesting space with the drawing, with the two-dimensional drawings. And then when you believe that the drawing evolved enough, then you make another model again. So the models are tests of specific moments in the process of the project, but they are not the design tool themselves. We don't go on changing the model and designing with it, because the proportion and there are many things is much more like a gymnastics that we don't want to get into. Right. I don't know, Sarah, if this is a good answer for you.
No, that's a lovely, eloquent answer. And then another question from Antonio Tomas, Professor Antonio Tomas, who heads design research here, post-professional research. He says, this is a really wonderful presentation and a fantastic body of work. I have so many questions, but I will just ask one. He says, Barcelona is so full of history and identity, and one can see the history of the city in the building that you've worked on. It's clear that the building refers to the history of the working class in Barcelona in ways that have been dealt with by a number of writers, such as Eduardo Mendoza. I even saw somewhere the word obrador, worker. So my question is, how did you integrate the history of the labor movement into the refurbishment of the building?
Well, for us, somehow this memory was there. We tried not to erase it. It was there in the traces, but it was also in the memories of the workers that were still living around. This cooperative building, all the members, that it arrived to have like 3,000 members. It was one of the biggest one, and was one of the longest one. Long life, no? It spanned from the beginning of last century until the 1980s. So until the 80s, so there was still a lot of people around. When the Salade could make this call to ask neighbors if they wanted to come back to their building and ask and explain stories related to the building to these young theater writers, playwrights. They made a call, and they had like 50 people that came and speak with them over
bringing
photographs. So there is the workers, that the former workers and members of this cooperative that are still around. They have still this way of kind of relation, to relate to things with a lot of solidarity. And so they really, it's a beautiful neighborhood in the sense that still this work spirit is there. Even the cooperative failed in the 80s because the cooperative feeling was not there anymore, but they still have this memory. So it's kind of, they are the life memory, but the building had this memory in it. It was a building built on Sundays, so the only holiday that in the 20s existed. And every Sunday they will go there, and maybe Christmas, some other few holidays that they had, and they will build this building themselves. This we were reading, and we discovered it later. At the beginning, we were fascinated why all the doors were so different. It was like, good morning, a new door. And then we realized it was every Sunday. So there was a gap in between one door and the other that makes more sense. Yeah, so it was it's a building that we were reading about it, and we like it, but you end up liking it even more. And you know that it's present in the memory of the people, but itself, I think it keeps a portion of the life of the workers, that it's the moment of leisure that they have, and how they were able to organize not only the grocery store they could buy with special prices, so there was better for their saving, and then they not only organized the better prices for food, but they also organized their leisure. So they were very active about this. So it's great, no? So they really.
Also, the materials were very popular, so they are there. The materials, helped us to keep. The materials were also helping us keep all this labor movement.
Which material? The elements.
Yeah, all the materials, the tiles, the doors, all the roses were very from that the very ordinary architecture, very popular materials in a way, a way of building. So when keeping all that, we were keeping also that moment in time of the growth of the city.
Because the buildings is built very much like the warehouses, the industries around. The difference was that they had this little touch of decoration. So a small cornice, a rosette, some tiles with drawing on the floors, things that usually in the industry you don't find. But the structure of it was very much the same knowledge of building that in the warehouses in Poblenou, in this area. So it's a beautiful area. Yeah.
Lovely. Yes. So I'll do one more question, and then I think we'll close off. It's been a fantastic evening, and really lovely hearing your work. But I also want to let you know that you've had more people. We've had more people attending this than any other previous event. So that's lovely news for everybody.
Pay some extra.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
But another question from Chi J Gang, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but they say it's wonderful to be able to join such a great event. and I enjoyed the lecture and the Q&A so much. Please may I ask one more question? I'm very curious about what motivated you to build John Haydock's house for a poet 20 years ago.
That's
great.
a very nice story. Because we were at that moment, thank you for the question. We were at that moment directing a little part of a master course, a master program. We were in charge of one studio. It was in summer, every summer. It was an international studio work called Invitations. And the thing that we had to do is to invite an architect that was not only doing architecture, but something else, to do a workshop with us, a 1 month workshop with us. That was the commission. So we thought in John Haydock, because as you know, he was also writing. He was a poet.
Yes.
And then and so we invited him to join our workshop, and we went to New York to see him because it was difficult, because he was quite old and quite ill also in that moment. And so he accepted. Very, very glad. He came to see us to the Cooper Union School where he was directing, and then he said, look, I don't know if I will be able to join you in Barcelona, but what you could do with your students is to build one of my pieces, my elements that, he used to draw these pieces that were representing these things that he was mentioning in the poems. The policeman, the house for the poet, the man who wanted to be alone. All these concepts from the poems were represented by the little drawings or symbols painted in black that you could see in Vladivostok or Mask of Medusa, all these books from him. So he said, I will send you, there's this house that I never built in the south of Spain that was going to be a house that was represented by different fragments, different rooms. If we take one of these rooms independently and you build it up, that would be a very nice exercise. And he called that, it was a room for the studio room, I think, of the house. And he called it the house for the poet. And then he sent the drawings of that little this piece for us, and it was very well drawn. And we started to figure out with our students and with the help of the school, in the School of Architecture, there was this workshop of carpentry, fortunately for us, that could help us. And then with the students trying to figure out to make all these kind of wooden joints and connections, etc., to build this bit in 1-to-1. In 1-to-1 was like 15. How was that? It was like 13 meters high. It was kind of 13, very high, very big. And then, and so we were writing him and sending him photos. Look, we are like that. Are you joining us or not? And then he sent another letter, said, look, I'm not going to make it to Barcelona. I cannot make it, but things looks wonderful. Now you need a connection to the floor, because this house was all in legs, So this element that he took, this room was flying. It was like isolated. So he drew this connection, this staircase, only the new thing that he did for this room. And he said, you connect this to the floor and paint it black, everything, interior. So that was the guidance he gave. So we finished the building up with the students, and we painted it black. And then
he said, now paint it black. He was sending faxes. And we thought, now we had it all out of wood. It was so beautiful. And we were with the fax in the school with the students. Okay, we have to paint it black. No. Yeah, but I mean, but then it looked very nice in black. Yeah. We could bring it to the beach in Barcelona, to the sea. It was so beautiful. So when we sent these pictures in the sea, he phoned, he rang, completely happy.
Lovely.
It looks so good. What can I do for you?
Yes, he was very kind. Very
so what he did, I remember, after some weeks, we received there was a mappa mundi. A map of the globe with the different indicating the different this kind of small structures, buildings that have been built around the world by some students. Well, like
mainly School of Architecture. There was one in front of the AA in London.
Yeah,
I remember that. I was in the AA when that was built. That was in 1987. Yes,
I think it was Raoul Bunschoten who ran this.
Raoul Bunschoten, that's right. Yes,
and then there was one in Buenos Aires. There were one in Prague, and now is one in Barcelona as well. There are these objects that he spread from around the world. So that's the story.
Lovely.
It was nice.
Thank
Beautiful. Well, Eva, Ricardo, thank you. That was a wonderful evening. It's a very cold night here in Johannesburg, and you've brought a lot of warmth and joy and pleasure, you know. And thank you so much. You know, there's something about your work that I find really, truly magical, and I think you've shared some of that magic with us this evening. So please, thank you so much. Really, really, it was a beautiful, beautiful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
And you know, I'm hoping that once we get past this COVID epidemic, you know, we would love to host you here, you know, to maybe come and do a workshop or to do something with our students here. So I'm hoping that we can stay in touch. We're also starting, Eva, you'll be happy to know, practice-based research program here. So I'm hoping that you know we can invite you and call you in to share, you know, your reflections with us. And with your permission, I'm going to share the link to your PhD presentation at RMIT, the Vimeo link. So if anybody would like to spend some more time in the world of Eva and Ricardo, looking through Eva's lens at her work, then I'm just posting in the chat the link to her PhD presentation in Barcelona a couple of years ago. And on that note, thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Hasta la próxima. And thank you.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
Again, Mark. Thank you,
Beautiful,
everyone.
beautiful evening. Thank you very much.
Good night. Good evening.
Good evening.